Hey there. So, my next guest is still a student, but she's found herself in this amazing position that's going to give her a leg up in the esports world for her entire career if she decides that's the direction she wants to go. And so, it's very inspiring to hear how she got the position and how she's handling it now that she's there. So, I know this is one you all are going to love. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Allison Lay. Hey there, Allison. How's it going?
I'm good. Enjoying my Thanksgiving weekend.
Wonderful. All right. So, Allison, I don't know if you've watched any of my episodes before, but I like getting straight into it. So, why don't you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
So I am a fifth year at UCI. I work for UCI Esports. I'm an intern there, and I'm the teams manager. So I help manage both League of Legends and Overwatch.
Very cool. All right. There's going to be a lot to unpack there. But before we do that, I ask everybody a single question to start every interview. So I'm going to ask you like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Allison?
I'll put myself at a 10.
Why is that?
I have so many different interests. I feel like there's so many things. I think I'm interesting, you know. I don't know about other people, but I think I'm interesting. But
well, why do you equate interesting with weird?
Good question. But like normally when I encounter something weird, I think interesting, you know, like that's kind of the reaction that I get.
Okay.
So
all right, no worries. Okay, in that case, let's move on. This is the Gamerpreneur podcast, so I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
I started playing video games at a really young age, actually. I started off with console gaming with my cousins. So we played like, you know, the GameCube, N64. And then I kind of started playing, I think the first PC game that I played was Maple Story. And I actually played that at a relatively young age because my cousins were all playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of my introduction to video games. And now it's been a hobby that's stuck with me ever since.
I love it. And what do you play today?
Today I play lots of stuff. I play League of Legends, Valorant. I want to get back into Final Fantasy 14. Lots of multiplayer games that you play with friends. I'm really bad at playing like single player RPGs, to be honest. Like
you prefer the online stuff.
Yeah, so I prefer the online stuff that you get to play with friends. Socializing with them is always really fun, and you know, hanging out with them makes everything so much better for me.
For sure. Okay. Kind of one more fun gaming question, then we'll get on to like what you do. But you know, what would you say is your all-time favorite game?
Oof, that's hard. I think I always turn to Final Fantasy 14 as my favorite game because there's so much to unpack from that game, and there's a lot of content, and I really loved raiding with my friends back in the day. And that's probably one of my favorite things to do. The lore and everything, the story. It's really, I mean, it really pulls me in. It draws me into the game, and yeah, I have good memories of that game, so it's probably my favorite.
I'll admit, I was a little afraid to try Final Fantasy 14 because I'd played Final Fantasy 11 for so long, and I was sitting there like, man, I can't do a death penalty again.
Oh.
All right, let's get over to the preneur part. Can you kind of give me a little bit about your background? You said you're an intern, and but you know how did you get to this place?
So unfortunately, I never really took advantage of the gaming community around me, like that existed on campus prior to 2018. But I did know a couple friends who were like heavily involved. For example, like my roommate at the time was the League of Legends mid laner starting position. So I knew him through that, and I think at the time when I was looking for a position, didn't matter what position, I wasn't really looking for like a video game position specifically. That the manager position just like kind of opened up, and I applied, and here I am today. It kind of changed my life for the better. So
very
I'm really
cool.
glad. Yeah.
And what does a teams manager do exactly?
So I do everything from like scheduling scrimmages to like making sure, transportation is okay. Obviously right now it's a little different since we're all online with COVID. But yeah, I do like a lot of the back end logistical stuff that other people don't like doing. So um yeah, I do all
Yep.
the event planning for like tryouts or transportation stuff, or if my players need to go to an event, whether it's like a third party tournament or our main season tournament, which is Collegiate League of Legends. And I most recently started doing that for Overwatch as well. So that's something cool, I guess. And I get to learn more about that game too.
Okay. Is this like a busy position? Is it like time consuming or is this like fairly simple?
um, I think it depends on the time of the season and it depends on like the circumstances. So like right now, I'm not like super busy, but school makes me busy, so I'm pretty exhausted from that. And I've had this position for a little over 2 years now, so I think I'm used to the workload that is expected of me. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you balance the two? I know when I was in school, I was like a study holic. I study, and made it tough to game all the time too.
Um, that's a good question. How do I balance it? I gotta be honest, I do a really bad job at doing it. I think um that like school kind of stresses me out a lot more. So I mean I love doing my work. So I think work becomes like more of a stress reliever than an inducer for the most part. Um, but I think it's just, if I can manage the team, then I can manage my own time, so that skill kind of like comes along with it.
Beautiful. All right. So, Allison, part of the purpose of my show is that if I have somebody out there listening to my guest, I'm hoping someone somewhere is like, wow, that sounds really awesome. How do I become a teams manager? What steps would somebody have to do?
Definitely just reach out to your community. I think most people who get into esports don't really know exactly like what they may or may not be good at. Like I think maybe graphic design is one of the few ones where I would assume like, oh, you're really into making graphics and like you also like video games. So um it's important to make a portfolio for that. But in terms of like a logistical position, I think um if you really like business and administration, like prior to esports, I know I didn't. I had no idea that I would love the job this much. Um, because I'm a math major, so I thought that I would be, getting into the STEM field. But I ended up having this job kind of fall into my lap, and like it changed my life for the better, and that I now know like what kind of career I want to get into in the future. So it's more administrative, but I think reaching out to your community is like the most important thing. Like show your interests, show what you're passionate about, and it'll actually come a long way.
Beautiful. And that's fantastic. You've kind of figured out what you wanted to do. Most people who get through college don't.
Yeah, so I was actually really lucky, like very fortunate that I figured it out.
Okay, can I ask, what what makes you good at what you do? Like, do you have any unique skills or talents that make you, qualified for this position?
I like making things work, to put it briefly. When I see a problem, I think I try to go out of my way to figure out a way to fix it, or like how to make it smoother, like logistically. And sorry, could you repeat the question? I got lost in my head.
What makes you special, Allison?
Oh, I think I work really hard. Sometimes I have these conversations with my boss where like, and my coworkers were like, I have imposter syndrome, so I don't really think that I'm doing a good job often. But yeah, I think that kind of propels me forward to do an even better job, I guess. So and then also part of that is kind of like the motivations. Like I like seeing things work. So I was able to work really hard with my boss on a welcome package for incoming players, which I feel like will, you know, it'll help guide new students who are lost academically and being able to balance their scholarship, team's life as well as like an academic life. And I'm really proud of that. And I always try to figure out ways to, make the program run more smoothly, or like the scholarship program in particular, even when I'm gone. So like right now, I think I'm working on projects as well. And I don't need to work on those projects. I just think that because I like watching things work, that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about.
Wonderful. Okay, so you said you've been at this for about 2 years now.
Mhm.
If you could go back in time and you could go and talk to little Allison, 2 years ago, and Allison, this is everything that's going to happen to you over the next 2 years, but here's the one thing you need to know. What is that one thing?
Don't be afraid. I think you're a lot more confident than, like, you're more capable than you think you are. Um, yeah, that's something that I would really want to say to myself. Because I was like really, like as a college student, like especially like when you don't know what you want to get into, and you're in a major where it's like it's actually a really tough major, like math sucks
Yeah,
to learn.
right.
It's rough, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I spent so much time like it devoted to my hobby, but I didn't really try to connect that with, you know, people. And I feel like as soon as I made those connections and I reached out to my community, my life changed for the better. And I feel like if I weren't afraid, I would have done that sooner.
Wonderful. Hey, at least you figured that out, right?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other advice for anybody who might want to be a team manager, or at all just get involved in the esports world? I mean, it's still fairly new and everybody's still trying to figure it out, like you said.
Yeah. I think for me at UCI, I got kind of lucky because I didn't really choose this university based on the gaming community, as you might know. But like the program started the same year that I entered college in 2016. So I got really lucky when uh, there was a position, because a lot of schools and campuses, they don't get, they don't have a program like that pays their students for what they do, and a lot of it is just passion. So like I think that other people, like if they're really interested, then like they can use that passion and um, find a position, whether it may or may not be voluntary. Like if you really like the work, then you'll put the time into it. So
Certainly. Okay, Allison, thank you for that. That was beautiful. If we can, I'd like to talk a little more personally about you, if we at the moment, and humble you if possible, because it takes a lot to get into UCI, and to be able to get a position like you're at, it takes some skill. You may feel that you're an imposter, you have the imposter syndrome, but obviously you have some success in your life. But I don't want people listening to this go, "Oh, this person here is absolutely flawless; that she has no issues whatsoever." So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
ooh, that is a actually really loaded question. Like, do you mean like is it? It might be easier for me to answer like from a career perspective.
Sure. Go ahead.
I think my biggest failure in my career is probably either not choosing the right major entering UCI, or actually just letting my coworkers around me in my first year kind of like, I don't want to say like gaslight me, but like kind of more make me doubt myself. And I think that is something that I really wish I would really wish that they didn't take away from me. Um,
Okay.
really made me doubt my capabilities. Like right now, I'm more confident, and uh, even though I still like kind of suffer with imposter syndrome, like I know like that I'm able to do very specific tasks. Like I know all the steps that I need to take when like a problem falls into my lap. But before, when that happened, it was really hard to come back from that. And it wasn't like I was given instructions. Like, you come into this as like completely new. Like, my supervisor would know, my director probably has an idea, but like, I'm the one who has to face the problem directly. And I think I'm upset that I let them take that away from me. So that's one of the biggest failures that I would consider within my career.
Okay. Well, I will tell you this, thank you for sharing for one, but second, it's good that you got that lesson early because you're going to face those people through your entire life. Doesn't matter what career you're going into, they're all there.
Right.
So hold strong, Allison.
Thank you. Honestly, I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just like, I think it's just unfortunate. And like, maybe it was a blessing in disguise because like, I'm so much stronger because of it.
Oh no, you will face those people your entire life, and it's never intentional. It's just how they were raised most of the time. Kind of related question. What is something that you're working to improve on in yourself today?
I want to be able to function in COVID better. So, right now I think it's been really hard because of COVID, but I'm trying to take steps to, appreciate myself a lot more. And that this is like on a general level, it's like not really a career. But I guess if there was something that I would want to improve in my career, it's just get my projects done faster. But even though, that's kind of hard given everything that's happening. And motivation is a resource that's hard to find right now. In general. So
I think a lot of people are having that issue right now. Stuck at home most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be like all doom and gloom, but like that's literally the reality of what we're facing. And I don't want to, sugarcoat things. That's not my personality.
Okay. One more like kind of fun question to wrap this up before we bring it in for a landing. What is something that you think that people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
I hope that people don't find me unapproachable. Like, I really want to like, share, the wealth of knowledge that I've accumulated. So, if anything, being unapproachable is, probably my biggest worry when people meet me. Because I think that the stuff that I've learned is like really unique. So I think when people have a question, I had a high school student reach out to me a couple weeks ago asking me about my position, and it was for her writing project. But like, I was really happy that she reached out to me, and it was just like, takes a little bit of courage for a high school student to, reach out like that. But that was really probably one of the best, like one of the most rewarding things about this job is that like you get to talk to people about what you do, and they got all excited, and it's like, yeah, you can do the same thing too. Like I want to encourage people to reach out to the community, make something of the interest that you have, like make it more than a hobby if you want it to be more than a hobby, so
Certainly. All right, that's wonderful. Okay, Allison, this has been a fantastic interview. How do people find you? How do they reach out to you? Where are you at on social media?
So my Twitter is S2 Shugel. So the S2 part is just a heart, but it's Shugel, which is my gamer tag spelled like Google, but with SH. Twitter is probably the best way to reach out to me. But I do have Discord, which I will DM to people who DM me on Twitter because it's easier to DM through Discord. But I won't say that publicly. I'll just wait if they do reach out to me.
Certainly. All right. As we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
Not necessarily. I think I shared a lot of it myself, and I don't know, if you guys have questions, then reach out to me on Twitter.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, Allison, thank you so much for coming on. I genuinely do appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really nice to meet you.
Absolutely. All right. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.